So Uruguay has, tuned me in a lot because what it's done is in every interaction, transaction, conversation, communication, right? And a culture, which is any two people coming together, a relationship as well. A culture cannot evolve faster than it can communicate. So if I want to translate my meaning, I'm asking for a product or whatever, right? Asking for the price of something, whatever conversation you can think of. Here in Uruguay, because they all speak Spanish, I've had to really focus. You know what I mean? I've had to really, in every moment, kind of be in the conversation if I want to be able to understand them. And the thing is now I'm not going to get rid of it because it's been like 3 years that I've been here, and I realize it's been a new tuning, a fine tuning, and it's been very, very positive in the end. Difficult, but again, I've gained a skill of extra like focus in the communication. And it's a focus on meaning, isn't it? Because I'm trying to focus extra hard that the meaning is exchanging, and that's the proper communication. If the meaning doesn't get across, you didn't communicate. So it has to get across for it to be communicated. Past tense, right? So this is just one thing that will happen to you if you go overseas that I didn't necessarily... I could have guessed maybe, but I didn't necessarily think about it before I came here too much. But yeah, it's really something though, is what I'm making this video for. Like it really has added to my consciousness. Do you understand? It's made me more conscious. So therefore I thought it was worth a video because, I don't know, consciousazine.net. Anyway, so... I'm not just making organic portal videos on this channel, but I've been doing Consciousazine longer than I've been doing organic portal videos. So, and hey, it's nice to have, change up philosophies, right? Don't want to get tired of anything. So, yeah, I thought that was a really good thing to give across to you guys. If because, I've always had this dream of opening like a Jedi school or something, not in the kooky sense, in the real sense, so not in like a kooky sense, but in a real sense of like any method, every method I can think of for honing and tuning yourself, and obviously that's got a lot to do with consciousness. You become more conscious of things, and that's a massive tuning because we create everything from consciousness. Well, not everything, because we create some things from unconscious and subconscious too, don't we? But we're trying to create more from consciousness, right? All the time. That's the forward vector idea. So I really do think it adds to how you see the world and how you communicate. So not just how you communicate, but how you see the world too. Like, it's really changed me seeing a different language, and I don't understand everything maybe, but there's a lot of things that it has made me understand, the difference between like English and Spanish, I mean. So, it can change your world view. I now understand the difference in their consciousness to mine, and Australians and Americans, each nation has a different language or a code, and their personalities are different and everything. So it changes your world view as well. Yeah, I thought that was a good thing to note down as, a way to sharpen or hone your skills, and, to bring organic portals into this then for a second. Let's add it in. They're always trying to stuff up communication. I notice they try and rev you up so that you also go into like emotional illogic in the conversation. They're trying to rev you up. Now, not only that is creating also simultaneously, neuropeptide cascades and whatnot, chemical reactions that we have considered being part of this idea of loosh energy stealing. That there's heightened hormonal cascades is part of the idea of loosh and how they extract energy out of you. And you can just think of it like this, like when you burn, this is a very simple way to think of it, very dumbed down, okay? This is not like the ultra encompassing highest way to talk about it. So you can think of it like them extracting the loosh from your heightened hormonal cascades via the idea of like DMT being like rocket fuel, a quick burn fuel, serotonin being a little bit longer in burning. You know how there's 5-HTP to melatonin to DMT through the whole process, through serotonin, melatonin, DMT. So it goes up in speed of burning. Isn't that interesting? DMT is a very quick burn fuel, and that's why we like ayahuasca so much, because it makes the trip last for hours. You got 8 hours instead of 5 minutes when you smoke it. And I've never smoked it, so if someone can help me with DMT, I'm your man. I do want to experiment with you. In the bush, in your house, wherever. Man, someone get me some psychedelics out here. It is so dry. Consciousness is so dry, so black and white dry, still needs some colouring in my opinion. So yeah, this can help you, colour in your consciousness, because it's an extra focus and be an extra layer to your visual or sight, you seeing and navigating consciously the world. So I do recommend going to other countries, because organic portals are those real stubborn people, and they're like very nationalistic. I'm just Australian, and I'm like very racist or American, and I'm not going to go here or there. You know what I mean? Like this, it's not just a first world privilege or something. You've got to see the deeper layer I'm talking about. And their mentality, they're just very like racist, because they're very, I don't know, their minds are very boxed in. They can't see many viewpoints. Remember, to become fifth dimensionally telepathic means to see the other viewpoints, to understand the other's meaning, the other topological points, the other people, whatever. To see the other thing's meaning is the fifth dimensional mindset, right? And they're third dimensional humans. They got that third dimensional judgmentality. Oh, what's he wearing? That means he's that. Well, I could be in disguise. Hence, we have like hundreds of prank channels now doing that to these organic portals. They're fooling them so much, you know what I mean? Have you watched these prank channels? All they have to do is get like in a uniform, and they can get into places and so on, They're easy to fool, these OPs. So, and it's the same thing, they're very close-minded, like, the in-the-box thinking, all of that. So they're very nationalistic. So when you live in a country, you grow up in one country, then you can't help but take on some of this sometimes. The more soul you have, the less you will take on, right? Because you'll see how erroneous it is, and that is erroneous. The more boxed up state is the more neurotic ego, right? The more boxed up, the more neurotic the ego. So, that's the less enlightened, right? That doesn't mean you're more enlightened because you're pushing out and putting up a wall. Walls that stop danger also stop progression. And that's their mentality. That's why they're acting like blockers to us. They can't even see their own freedom. They could have freedom and not be a slave. Solar power, technology we have, plant food plants, vertical sea farming. We've got a whole ocean. Those seaweeds, there's like however many seaweeds. Like, let's just take the 10 well-known seaweeds or whatever, You don't even need to plant 100 different seaweeds. So, and they're more mineralized than, for instance, the land vegetables. So I don't know, people just cannot think outside the box because it's not being done. That's the mind state of the organic portal, though, the boxed up mind. So when you cross the national boundaries and you cross into a different code or language, you can create differently as well, I've noticed here. Like how you create here is different, because in Australia there's less frequency control, you can fool people less, they're more free in their expression, and here they're much more tightened in their expression. There's a lot of differences, So I really do recommend for expansion of consciousness that you step across boundaries in general. So obviously your national boundary is a really, really thick boundary on yourself because of the language, and you create everything with half your life with your language, half unconsciously. But we create with language generally. We attract with language, even if it's unconscious. So when you change your language or learn a new language and really understand it and the meanings and lack of meanings or different meanings, it can really help to hone your consciousness and in just so many ways. So yeah, just wanted to put that in a video, something to think about, because all of reality is language. And so if you change your code, like when I went to university, I studied 16 information technology subjects, and one subject is HTML, to create a web page. Then you learn, in HTML2 you learn XHTML more, XHTML5 more, and it adds, see, that's already adding to it. XML is a different kind of language, really. And then you learn what CSS, what did I just say? CSS? That's it, isn't it? CSS? Style sheeting? I forgot what it is already. But you learn all these different languages, JavaScript for creating Adobe Flash creations. And I didn't learn Java or C++. That's the two hacking languages I need to learn now outside. But you see, they all add in. For instance, that's a good point. You can't hack as much with some of these other languages. You can, you can. There are some really talented people out there doing really good HTML attacks, doing things with that. But I don't know. It's usually been thought that C+ and Java are really good hacking languages. I'm not even sure why. I think because of the upper level scripting nature of them or something, like the very backdrop level. Is that why? I'm not even sure. So yeah, but you can see that you learn a new language and you learn a new, something, like at least perspective, but meaning, like C+ does this. C# is the console language. I learned a bit of C# as well. And so that's the console language. It's the different levels of the computer. That's not the web page. HTML is the web page. Then you can put a JavaScript Adobe creation into the web page, So there's different levels, and so it's all like that, in my opinion, in languages. Like in some languages, they don't say stuff that's not necessary, and then in other languages, there's a lot of unnecessary glib talk. So, but you may get something out of that, like in Australian language, there's a lot of syncopation, and mostly I think that's eroding meaning though. But you get different perspectives when you travel over different borders, and it's a different world. Just like when you psychedelically travel into different worlds in your mind, you're crossing energetic barriers. So yeah, I just want to recommend going overseas because, I don't know, obviously it's natural for the soul seeker, but let's try and wake up everyone we can.